we're starting a cult. Now, of course, this is a little tongue-in-cheek, if you will. Now, we're actually not starting a cult. I don't know if you guys know, but Jennifer and I are pretty much introverts. We don't really even like hanging out with people, like, like the idea of me starting a church and being like a church leader and stuff like that. Jennifer and I have created the pastoral leadership team. That's completely out of our realm. Like if people left me alone for the rest of my life, that would be fantastic. But that's not what God has put on my lap. The reason I'm a boisterous, rebellious shit-talking Irishman is apparently because the world needed a boisterous, rebellious, shit-talking Irishman to teach people the mysteries. And so I was put in that position, and this is one of those things, like, get your ass out of the way. You had ideas of what you thought your life was going to be. Well, fucking drop it, right? Because you got to deny yourself and take up your cross, and guess what? Better things will come. Like I said, I never had any idea I'd be, I dreamed a long time ago. I'd be like, I remember, I swear to God, and I told Jennifer this, I remember seeing the back of the Shel Silverstein. I remember seeing the back of one of his books, Where the Sidewalk Ends, or one of those things, and it was a picture of him, and he was holding this classical guitar, and he's bald, and he's just sitting there, and I was like, that's what I want to do. I want to be that guy. Now, I didn't want to be that guy because of the whole Hebe thing, but, just the idea of, using your creativity and using your intelligence and all of that sort of stuff, and actually making a change in the world for the better for children and things like that. That was... I was like a long time ago, like, oh, I don't want to do that. That's amazing. And then now it's here. So I didn't plan for any of this stuff at all. None of it. But I am happier than a pig in shit that we're here, So we're introverts. And so and nothing in our world is the idea of like being communal leaders and things like that. And so today we're gonna talk a little bit today about why I started a church. Why, even though it's really not in my wheelhouse to be doing this sort of thing, the necessity of this church is something I think some people here recognize it, how necessary it is about the things that we talk about, the things that we discuss, the things that we go over, the things that I unveil in the books, how necessary it is for our culture in this world. And that's one of the reasons why I started the church, to help actually change culture. And that's what we're going to talk about today. This was kind of inspired by the lovely, wonderful Peggy Hall. Peggy Hall, I don't think, is ever going to talk to me. I don't know. I shouldn't say that. I don't want to put that out there. But I am too controversial for most of these characters. Most of these people just want us like, no, let's keep Marty Hanna, because he talks about this and then flat earther and then the Hebe shit. So we just got to keep him at an arm's length. A lot of these people do that, but I show him love back because I don't give a shit. So this was kind of inspired by Peggy Hall. Peggy Hall had sent this email out that she sends all the time. And she was basically saying that a bunch of the people that come to her channel were like, look, you talk about all these topics that are like, oh, I'm not sure about, like the cooties, the COVIDian things, abortion and the Pope and, RFK Jr. and flat earth and electric vehicles and Israel and evolution and climate change. And so this church is, and just who I am in general, is like everything we talk about is controversial. Everything is a hot button issue. In fact, when I started working with the person on this project, we both came to the conclusion that there was really nobody else out there that could have possibly done this because of, and once again, I'm not tooting my own horn or anything here, but it's like I was awake and aware to everything that we're going to cover in this documentary, all the conspiracies. I knew fucking all about them, right? I was not only... I'd wrap my head around them. I'd already gone down those rabbit holes. I'd shut those doors. I'm like, okay, that's it. So in order for anybody to even put this documentary together, you already had to know this and this and this and this and this and this and this. And both the kid and I that were, I'm working with, he was like, I don't know who could have done this. And so I'm sort of in that position that literally everything we talk about is a hot button topic, is a controversial thing. And, This is another one that inspired me, was ADV when she made her. This was Mama Bear there, Mama Truther, the principal of the truth community there, scolding the kids about like, you're not really listening to fucking Tucker Carlson, are you? Really? I thought we were past that, but apparently we're not past that. So she inspired me to do this as well. I'm just always in the position where everything I talk about, from at least somebody's perspective, it's fucking nuts. It's nuts, right? We're crazy. From an outside perspective, what is this? This is a cult. That's what it looks like, right? Oh, they're all following this Marty guy, and he talks about all crazy shit, and, you know, it's like, oh, they believe the earth is flat, and virology is nonsense, and stuff like this. And when you step back, and you look at the collection of the small group of people that end up showing up here, that even pay attention, that even hang out, that's the other thing. There's people that show up, but the people that actually hang out and stick around, not that many, as you can see. Why? Well, we know why. We know why. Because, you know, well, first off, we look like nutter butters to the normies. But even conspiracy-minded people, in many respects, can't handle the shit that we're doling out here. And we don't care. I don't care. I guess maybe I'm too crotchety old man. I'm getting too old to give two shits about it. I'm going to talk about the things I talk about. I'm going to present the things I want to present, and, you know, just like last week, it was, you know, pretty controversial topic. I don't care if we lose people because it's like, Marty, you think that women are subservient or something? No, that's not what I said, but if that's what you want to hear and you want to be done with this church, then that's fine. We're starting a cult here, so we're trying to find good cult members, okay? So look at all the things we talk about. False flags. You even, you know, it's crazy to me that people, you know, are still believing in any of these narratives that, you know, some these shootings would be legitimate at all. Like, I can't even believe that people are asking about this. So if you're in that camp, chances are this is not the church for you, and we're totally fine with that. You know, that's fine. What we want to do is sort of be the cream that rises to the top when people are ready to be like, okay, I'm done. I've heard this, and I've heard this, and I've kissed that fucking frog, and I went and listened to these idol worshipers, and I'm listening to this guy's theories and stuff like that. I'm tired of that. I want to know. And that's what we're here for. Okay? And we're going to touch on everything. Right? And I just put a smattering of things that they're false flags. Everything from Sandy Hook to the recent shooting. No, don't even bother asking us, because is it come from the media? Then it's fucking nonsense, and we're not going to waste any time. We're not going to burn any lean brain tissue to be like, well, let's see, maybe there's some legitimacy behind it. No, we know now. We've experienced it. We don't need to go back and fiddle-fuddle around with that stuff, okay? Everything from, like, natural health remedies. I put urine therapy on there because it's the most controversial one, right? That's the thing, right? I don't drink my pee, but I'm for it, okay, just so you know. Earth is flat. You know, from an outside perspective, this shit is nuts. To your family members, ex-friends, and things like that. Everything we talk about, virology is a pseudoscience. History is a damn lie. The Bible is myth, but you guys are Christians? Yeah, and it's mythology. Do you have a problem with that? We don't care. We don't care. And I'm not trying to be combative. I'm not trying to be, you know, standoffish or anything like that. I'm not trying to kick people out of the pews or anything like that. But I also know that I am not going to change my course one iota because somebody might have a problem here or that sort of thing. All right? We know that there is a grand world conspiracy, and that's been going on for a long time. And we also know that Judaism is Satanism. Those are just a smattering, just a smorgasbord of things that we talk about. Now, when you are and you live these things, and this is what we always talk about, be bold about it. Speak truth. Speak truth to power. Speak light into the world. If you know this stuff, right, and then you're not talking about it, to me, this is an enormous disservice to God and truth and the future of humanity. And it's one thing that bothers me the most. I know people that are flat earthers that even after it came out in 2015, it's 2020 fucking 4, and you're still afraid to talk about flat earth. You've lost my respect. I don't respect you. Your children's future is on the line. It's important to know where we live. I don't want to lose subs. I might get kicked off this podcast platform. Too fucking bad. Then you're in the wrong, you got the wrong job, all right? You should pick a different career. Okay? So we talk about all this stuff, and we know it's a hard road to walk. It is. I know that I've been endearing to people when I've said things like I've lost all my friends. I don't even know how to talk to them anymore. We can't even talk about, or, family, that sort of stuff. You can't even talk about the weather, right? Because it's like, you haven't woken up to chemtrails, right? And so this is a hard road. And so one of the reasons we started the church, one of the reasons we started this tiny church is to find people who are walking that hard road. And being like, okay, it's a hard road, but I'm going to find the others. Maybe it's just a place online that I go every single Sunday and that sort of stuff, and there's a good group of people here, that sort of stuff. At least I can communicate. At least I can have that out. Because once I know a lot of people here, just like I did for the longest time, worked blue-collar jobs and have to go in every single day and wake up at 8 in the morning and face some fucking retard who's like, did you get your booster today? Blah, blah, blah. And that's a difficult thing, okay? And I encourage people to be like, well, don't shut up about your beliefs. Because if you shut up about your beliefs, then the lie wins. Then the devil wins, right? Okay? Then you're just lying to yourself. You're living a fake existence. And I've learned, and we're going to talk about this today, when you actually step into the light and actually embody it and actually go and live your life according to those things, great things happen. Magical things happen, just like this. Would have never in a million years thought I would be able to do this and then a documentary and more books. And none of that shit was ever like, oh, one day maybe I'll make a record. No, now it's like I've got too much to do. And because I've always stepped into the thing like, look, I don't care what anybody thinks about me. I don't care what you're going to put down. Like, this is true, then I'm going to sing it. I'm going to go into the rooftops and I'm going to sing in the fucking rain about it. And doing that, actually aligning with truth, actually, I'll just say this, God responds. So we started this little church because, this tiny church, because for the longest time, I was lost. And I'm not lost anymore. I know who I am. I know where we are. I know what my purpose is. I know God is real. I know how to prove God. And I know that for the longest time, when I was younger, I was lost. I had no dang clue what I was supposed to do, what kind of job I was supposed to. Should I go to college? Should I follow with this woman? Blah, 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 blah. And I saw, even in the conspiratorial world and all the rabbit holes that I went down and all the doors that I opened and all the books that I read, nothing was ever giving me that specific direct answer, right? Until I ultimately got to God or whatever. But then I realized, it's like, holy God, no one's even teaching that correctly. So I felt like, I'm like, okay, well, I'm in a position that I need to do this, okay? For this, my son was dead. This is Luke. What is this? Luke 15, I want to say. 15:24, I want to say. For this, my son was dead and is alive again. He was lost and is found. And they began to be merry. Look at that. They're married. They're merry. Right? Marriage? What? Anyway, so this is what, personally I went through as a young man, all the way up to the point of deciding, like, at whatever age it was, that I was like, oh no, we need to do this full time. This needs to be a full-time thing. And I'll just hope to God that people see it and recognize it for what it is and support it. Okay? Science and religion, for me, for the longest time, and I studied these things diligently. Comparative mythology, religious study. I mean, I can pull the Mahabharata, I can pull the De Dao Ching, I can pull the Holy Vedas and the Holy Science and the fucking Lao Tzu, and whatever. I can pull all of those things off my bookshelf because I've studied those things. Okay? I also studied the shit out of quantum theory and stuff like that, and none of those things were providing answers. And so for the longest time, I was stumbling around in the dark being like, are there any answers to find? Can we even, or is this just it? We're just lost in this big abyss and we're just stumbling around in the dark, constantly hitting our toe, and there's no hope because there's no. As I came to find, and one of the reasons that we started this little cult, which we'll get into in just a second too, that there were answers. There were answers to these things. And that the people that hate humanity and work on behalf of the devil and are antichrist and stuff like that, they know this shit. And they're going to do everything in their power to lie to you about who you are and where you are and the nature of language, the nature of math, and the nature of history and all this other stuff to make sure that you don't know anything. And so I realized it was so important that there could be a place where people could go and Gnostically know. Be like, no, these people know it's flat because they know geometry doesn't lie. I don't have to stumble around being like, well, maybe it's a simulation, or maybe it's this, or maybe there's a... No. We know geometry works and we can prove it's flat. If you don't like that, you think we're idiots, that's fine. Lots of people think I'm an idiot and I don't give a shit. Most of the people I knew that I grew up with probably think I'm an idiot now, and I don't give a shit. I don't care. I am not there to appease them or get an attaboy from them. I don't care. I'm not there to do it for you guys either. I'm here to prove myself to God. All right? I found out that there were answers to this thing. That you could prove God. That God was a provable being, if you will. And that not only that God has given us specific things in this creation so that we could do that. No one was showing me that. Nobody. I could go to the science, I could go to the churches, and they just wanted you to believe a bunch of bunch of freaking unprovable nonsense, completely by belief in faith, which is not belief in faith. They want blind acceptance. And that was not satisfactory to me. And so I realized that over the years of me learning all the things that I'd learned and really, doing my due diligence, being an autodidact, essentially putting myself through a mystical college for 10 years or more, 10, 15 years, was I undergoing. Basically, you send your little Jimmy Bobby to college there, and Jimmy Bobby goes to college for 4 years, and then you think he's educated, right? Well, I actually went to like a mystical college on my own autodidactically, and I'd been doing it 5 times, what people spend in college and things like that, the amount of time. And I realized that the things that I was showing, even mathematically, were legit. I didn't have to get approved. Is this okay? Is this approved? Blah, 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 right? No. I can add to 7. I didn't need Neil deGrasse Tyson to tell me, oh, that's true, right? And so I realized that the things that I was uncovering and that God has allowed me to, relay to you guys through book form and documentaries and that sort of stuff was next level shit. And it is. Hence why when, after being lost for so many years, when I finally found it, I was like, this is next level shit. I made this post, this meme on Instagram, and I said, it's called the Gnostic Academy. It's in that dusty corner of the internet that everybody is trying to ignore. Ignore away. It's totally fine. We're just forming our little cult here of 78 people, however many people are here. It's total next level shit. It is. It is. This is called next level shit. That's what this is. It's 550 pages of verifiable, 100% demonstrable, evidential things to prove that not only is Jesus Christ nothing of what these churches are saying, but that God is real and provable. This is not ego. Me saying that, hey, we're doing next level shit here, and these books you should totally buy and all this other stuff. This is not ego, and this is why we covered this yesterday. Because I can be totally confident in the fact that, hey, when I say Lord equals 13 and Jesus equals 27, Christ equals 32, that's not me being like, it's because I'm fucking awesome. It's because I have superior intellect or whatever. Self-righteous, self-aggrandizing. Now, people have said there's different definitions of ego and stuff like that. Yes, there are. But everybody knows when you call somebody an egomaniac exactly what they mean, or exactly what you mean, right? And so this whole thing. It's like, I can do all these things. Oh, a couple books, documentary, children's book, more children's book, open a church? Sure. Could Kevin Ryan Martin McNally do that? Fuck no. Kevin Ryan Martin McNally was a stumbling, bumbling frickin' mess for years. But as soon as I realized, it's like, God, I don't really know what I want. At one point in my life, I thought being a musician would have been a good job. If I would have actually pursued that, I'd be dead now. So all those things that I thought I wanted, turns out, no, that's not what the best thing for me was. The only way I could get into the position was to get my dumb ass out of the way, deny thyself, and take up the cross. And that's when the miracles happen. That's when the magic happens. And that is totally an ego dissolution. Okay? As I just said, one of the reasons that I wanted to start this church is because we're not hiding my beliefs anymore. I don't have time for it. I really don't. I'm not going to, obviously you pick your battles. It's not like you have to just go out and, blurt to everybody, virology is nonsense or whatever. The Bible star study or whatever the hell it is, whatever the numerous things that we cover here. But I'm not going to, and Jennifer and I said this too, especially even moving down to Missouri. I was like, if we don't like somebody, we're just going to we'll be nice about it. But we're just going to essentially tell them, if a neighbor is annoying, then we're just going to do everything in our power to make sure that we keep that neighbor at bay, right? And we really want to find our tribe, right? We really want to find the people that we can just be open with, because anymore it's exhausting. Like, I'm not into, like, it's not like I have any problem with, your basic social interactions and things like that. I'm like, everybody has to believe what I believe and things like that. That's not what it is. But when it comes to giving our time and attention and focus, we really want to find the people that are going to, appreciate it and actually see this for what it is. And if you don't, then that's fine. And we've already lost church members. In fact, there's several church members that when we moved down to Missouri that were following the church and like, oh, this is awesome. And then all of a sudden they just flittered away because I'm assuming I spoke of politics one time or something or whatever it was that they didn't like. And it's like, oh, I don't need this anymore in my life. Okay, well then go. That's totally fine. We also know that. And can I get an amen? Can I get a motherfucking amen on this one? There's so much shit, and I don't even mind saying it. If you call me an egomaniac, I don't really care. There's so much shit on the internet, guys. There's so many of these people, and I hate to say it, and there's lots of people that keep me at arm's length for saying this, and once again, I don't care. There's so much shit on the internet. There's so many, most of the channels that you're listening to, and I've said this before, are filling your ear holes full of just theoretical dang nonsense. They don't have the experience. They don't have the years and years of actually going into the subject and that sort of stuff that they're talking about. They're just willy-nilly, that sort of thing. And there's so many ifs and I thinks and zillions of theories, and there's not much knowing. And I wanted to set up a place that there would be knowing. The people be like, no, Marty's, and over the years, what I'm going to do with what it is I do is prove that out, and I've already done it. Through the integrity, through the dignity, through the consistency. Okay? And the cream will, as the lovely Whiskey says, her mama, I believe, taught her this, the cream will rise to the top. And we want to find the cream. That's what we want to do. All right? So, and we were trying to refrain from saying I don't care, because we absolutely do care. But we're not concerned, I'm not concerned anymore if somebody's like, oh, I don't want to talk to Marty Leeds, or I was like, oh, I'm not going to invite him to that conference. Your loss. Does that sound egotistical or what? I don't care. It's your loss. Okay? Because I know that when I get in front of a group of people and then I can get myself out of the way and let God just flow through it, be that conduit, I know that that's unbelievably beneficial for everybody that sits their ass in those chairs in that conference or whatever it is. And if you say, oh, I don't want the people that I invite to my conference and that are giving me $800 a ticket or whatever to hear what Marty Leeds has to say, then that's on you and it's your loss. Because we know. We don't need to fumble around with, maybe it's a globe. Maybe Jesus was here 2,000 years ago. We don't need to deal with that anymore. And I'm not going to. We base our worldview on what we know and not what we quote unquote believe, meaning blind acceptance. And this knowing, while all of us grew up in a world where we were so damn lost, we had no idea who we are and what we were, all this sort of stuff, it is so desperately important that people can come to know what they can know and know what they can't know as well. And we talk about that. That gets into epistemology and things like that. But it becomes infinitely important to know. And I see a lot of people just talking shit and not really knowing. Okay? So we are forming a cult in every sense of the word. Now what we're going to see is everybody in one sense or another is part of a cult. It's all worship is what we're going to talk about today. Your entire life is all worship. Just like, and we'll cover this again, just like we talked about, we did the magic, the word that breaks all magic spells, I think is what it was called. We talked about the fact that everybody's always doing magic because you're always speaking into existence. You're always speaking, speak what you create, that sort of thing, right? You're always doing that. So you better know what you're doing. Well, guess what? It's always worship. You're always in worship. And so you better know what to worship and what's true. And you better know it. And you can come to know that with what? Your faith, right? We covered that a few weeks ago too. Okay? What is a cult? A cult is an organized group of people, religious or not, with whom you disagree. Essentially, this guy's like part of the etymology, right? Cult, this was in etymology or etymology online or whatever. Etymology online. Cult is a term which, as we value exactness, we can ill do without, seeing how completely religion has lost its original signification. essentially anybody that you disagree with becomes a cult, right? Christians are considered a cult. Well, they are in a cult. Scientologists are considered a cult. Well, they are in a cult. People that constantly go and like they worship, like, you know, they go and see every Star Wars movie and dress up as Star Wars characters. You're in a cult. That's what you're in. Science believers that got the jibbity jabbos. I got a Johnson & Johnson here and a Moderna here, and then I went with a frickin' AstraZeneca on this one because I'm a science believer. You're in a cult. That's what you're in. It's all worship, as we're going to find. Okay? What is a cult? The very definition. It's a religion regarded as unorthodox or spurious. We literally define ourselves as quote-unquote unorthodox in one sense, right? So accordingly, this is a cult. A great devotion to a person, idea, object, or movement, or work. Like the Bible and God? That's a cult, right? That's exactly what we do here. We have great devotion to God, and we follow, well, at least the Bible we study, very intensely, of course, but we have a great devotion to God. So I guess that becomes a cult, right? Because there's lots of people that don't even believe in God. So from the outside perspective, you guys are a cult, right? And of course, those people that don't believe in God, they have a fierce belief of not believing in God, which means what? They're in a cult too. The object of such devotion is a usually small group of people characterized by such devotion. Well, we're a tiny church. We're tiny. A system of religious beliefs and ritual. We're here every Sunday. We do this every Sunday. It's a ritual. It's a spiral ritual, if you will. That's what spiritual is. It's a spiral ritual. And it's a formal religious veneration. It's worship. It's all worship. So Marty Leeds, you were looking at Marty Leeds, is a cult leader. Right? Now, what we're going to see is cult is the root of the word culture. And what we're really trying to do is reestablish culture here. I'll get to that in just a second. But where am I leading you to? Do you really think I want you to follow me? No, let's go back here. Jennifer and I are where are we? We're introverts, okay? We're best, if we were a card in the tarot deck, we would definitely be the hermit card, okay? Right, basically just head down and kind of, the light out, that sort of thing. Where am I leading you to? A genuine, honest understanding of your faith, of God, and how to prove God. How to substantiate your faith. Am I leading you to follow me? No, don't follow me. You'll really annoy the shit out of me and my wife, okay? We're doing the exact opposite. In fact, the Gnostic pursuit is to basically say, we don't have an idol. We're not idol worshiping. We're not following fucking anybody because we don't follow men. We follow God. Okay? So, I am a cult leader, but I'm the best cult leader ever because I'm the cult leader that says cult leaders are ridiculous. Cult, when we look up the etymology, it's worship, homage, a particular system of worship. That we do have a particular system of worship. We're not dogmatic or, that sort of thing about it. It's not like there's these rules and regulations, and if you don't follow them, you're kicked out of the cult. No, but it's cultivation. It's cultivating things that are honest, true, good, and letting them, be substantiated in your life, and then passing them on through customs and traditions. Okay? The biggest problem that I think we find in the world, and one of the reasons that we started this church, is that people are sharing these customs, these traditions. They're reading throughout their good book, and they don't have a damn clue why. They don't understand any of it. And if you can just ask them, and just like I did for years, like, well, why did Moses split the waters? What's up with that? It was a strong wind. That's what Maimonides said, or whatever. It was like, what? No. You basically have tradition after tradition of people that have no idea why they're doing the things that they're doing. Well, the Gnostic pursuit and the reason that we opened this church is like, well, let's fucking explain it to them. Why the Christmas tree? Why Santa Claus? Why the Zodiac? Why? Well, there's answers to those questions. There's answers. And so we try to provide those answers. But I don't just say, well, this is the answer because Marty Leeds said so. What do I always say? No, don't trust me. Don't believe me. I'm going to present something to you. And if I'm presenting it to you, it's because you should be able to go, oh, no, he's right about that. I can challenge it 6 ways to Sunday, and I'll be right back and be like, yeah, that's true. Okay? So the root of the word culture is a cult. And so any culture that has a belief system, that has a devotion to God, that has a particular set of customs and rituals and traditions and shit like that, that's a cult. What does culture come from? It comes from the tilling of land, acting of preparing the earth for crops, cultivating, culture, that sort of stuff. And so what are we trying to do? We're trying to cultivate that which is good, true, and beautiful, that which we're able to prove, that which we can say, yes, I can firmly put my foot in these beliefs because Pastor Bob down at frickin' the church at 5th and Vermouth told me to. No, right? Why now when we say, hey, when we go to put that Christmas tree up in the corner of the room in Christmas, why are we doing it? Why is the Gnostic doing it? Ask anybody else, why are you doing it? Well, it's just Grandma did it. And I love Christmas trees. I just love decorating with a family thing. Okay, but why? That's important. Why is important? You ask the Gnostic, be like, well, that represents actually the tree in the center of our creation, and that actually represents the axis mundi within me, which is an as above, so below thing. So I can actually look at that tree and the lights on that tree, and next thing it'll... Our culture, which is not a culture at all, has been going along blindfolded, with the pedal to the metal at a car, going like this and having no idea where it's going, why it's in the car in the first place, why it's blindfolded, and just basically going along and perpetuating these things, and a lot of times doing an enormous amount of damage. Why do you think the Christian societies and these Christian family traditions are falling apart? Because the people that were passing them on didn't know shit, and they didn't know how to explain to little Jimmy Bobby when little Jimmy Bobby had questions like, why is Santa invisible and he can just come down the chimney whenever and stuff? Because he's metaphysical, Jimmy Bobby. Did your parents teach you that? Do you know any parents that taught you that? If you went to the Christian church, did they teach you that? No. We do. Its culture is characterized by refined taste and manners. I got to work on the manners thing. But and good education. A lot of people think that religion and spirituality is just like, it's just McFeels. That's all it is. It's just like, oh, you don't need to be intelligent or educated. Yes, you do. Yes, you do. Don't be a fucking bumbling moron to think that God's just going to allow you to he's just going to just swoop open those pearly gates while you got a head full of caca and poo-poo. No, you have to, I'm not saying you have to be some Einstein. See what I did there? I'm not saying you have to be some brilliant polymath or something like that, but you can't be a doofus. You have to have your basis in education in order for you to even understand the depths of spiritual concepts, okay? So a good education is necessary, okay? Culture is refined by taste and manners, and that's one of the things that, that we're trying to really do here is that, this is the other thing. Maintain conditions suitable for growth. Like I just said, the Christian faith and then the Christian churches and these denominations that are passing this shit on, they're not maintaining a condition for suitable for growth, because what they're doing is they have the mystery school tradition in their hands that they're passing on to their children and their children's children and stuff like that. And the mysteries require you to ask questions. And you go into those churches and you're pretty much not supposed to ask any questions. That is not a condition that is suitable for growth. Suitable for growth is to be like, hey, what does this mean? Oh, now you got them thinking. You got the frickin', the neurons popping in the head, an old bread box of neurons you got up there, like just pop it off. And then you start to think. You start to ask questions. Okay? What we have right now is not suitable for growth. And this church is going to do its part to help change that in culture. Okay? It's also it comes from colony, to cultivate, to till, to inhabit, to frequent practice, to respect, tend, to guard. That's exactly what we're doing. We're going to guard and protect and tend to the actual meanings of this bad boy here. And we're not going to stop. And we've been doing it for how long? 2 and some years now? Consistently. Just week after week after week, we'll pull it open again and see, this is what you missed. This is what they never told you. This is what you can prove. Hey, when I say this, like, hey, was St. John really in the wilderness eating bugs and wearing a loincloth? Was he out there actually eating locusts and honey? To believe that bullshit is not suitable for growth. And hence why, when we look back, even in my own time, why did Christianity fall apart? Because they didn't have the gnosis. Because they had no knowing. And they were forcing children to believe in a bunch of horse shit. And eventually those children were going to, like me, we're going to start asking questions, be like, what? And they didn't have any answers. Well, there are answers to find. I also did this because I didn't really feel like any of the other places online I was comfortable in. Like, I didn't really feel like it was a community for me. Because I would go into a community and be like, hey, let's talk about how awesome Freemasonry is. You Marty, the child of Freemasonry, obviously a shell, right? And I'm just like, look, I don't mean to sound like so arrogant or anything like that, but that's fucking retarded. And I don't feel comfortable in a position where it's a bunch of truthers or a bunch of flat earthers or whatever that call themselves free-thinking people and then completely dismiss essentially the entirety of mysticism, which is the foundation of what we do. And then when I throw up a fit or something, or I basically like, look, it's all nonsense, and people are like, wow, God, why is Marty he's such an ass when it comes to that stuff? Because I'm going to protect and defend and tend to and cultivate things that are positive. Because you refuse to be ignorant about it, then I can't hang out with you. But we know that virology is a lie and the earth is flat. That's not enough for me. And so I realized that place wasn't for me, and that place wasn't for me, and this place, as soon as I open my mouth, they're going to kick me out. And, if I talk about Kabbalah here, all those Christians are not going to like me. Then I realized, I was like, okay, fine. Then we'll just do our own thing. And the cream will rise to the top. And if there's only 30, well, guess what? Jesus only had 12. And so hence why we try to cultivate the Gubbards here. We're trying to set up a cult which is actually based on a cultured, refined understanding of our world. And we're trying to cultivate those people and bring them here and be like, yeah, you're in this sort of sense, you're safe here. We can talk about all this stuff openly. We don't have to fight about it. We may have some disagreements here and there. That's totally fine, right? But we are setting up a church that if you want to roll in and be like, obviously the Masons are behind all of this shit, you gotta go, because you guys, those people to me, and I know this is harsh, and I'm sorry, but I have to say it. Those people look like globe heads to us. They look like Simon Dan people to me. That's what they look like anymore. But it's like, but they believe. It's like, I don't even want to hang out. I can't. I might as well be talking to my old normie friends. Okay. So, is this a cult? What is it? Yeah, yes, it's a cult that is trying to cultivate culture and based on faith and understanding and knowing. And that's what we're building here. Why are we doing this? One of the things that I realized for the longest time is that culture is in decline. I think we all see this right now. Okay? And part of the reason that culture is in decline is because they got people believing that they're on a ball, whether it's on fire or not. But culture is in decline. In fact, we can't even say we even grew up with a culture in this sort of sense, right? Oh, well, I guess in this sense, what was the cult that we grew up in? It was a satanic cult. It's a satanic cult. That's what we grew up with. We didn't really have a quote-unquote culture. Western culture, at least in the United States here, I know there are people listening all over, but at least in the United States here, everything that we came to understand as culture was completely fabricated and put in our purview and into our heads and in front of our eyes so that we would latch onto these things and not latch onto things that were that could actually help us understand the world. Hollywood, most of the world is focused on TV and movies and music and things like that. All comes from Hollywood. All Jews. Literally, top to bottom, since its inception, brought about by people who hate the very essence of God that exists within you. And they set up a whole culture or cult in order for you to latch onto it. Did you guys watch the big Super Bowl? You know what that is, right? That's a big cult. That's exactly what it is. All to distract you. NASA, politics. Are you still a Democrat or Republican? I can't even hear it anymore. Hence, once again, why we started the church. As soon as I hear somebody start saying, oh, the Democrat is a fucking left. Shut up. Like you're a child. You know, and the people that we have cultivated here recognize that. They're like, are you still red and blueing? You got to be kidding me. We don't want to even waste our time with that. Because we already know that that was brought about to us by people who actually wanted to completely destroy the actual culture. Okay? And so one of the reasons that I started this church is that our culture needs a jump start. And it desperately needs a jump start. We actually need a real culture that's based on real things, that's based on knowing. That says, hey, I got no problem putting that Christmas tree up. I got no problem, whatever, having my good book in the house. I got no problem with this or that or whatever, but I want to know what it means. And in order for us to, as a humanity, as a small little group, our little, tiny church here, in order for us to progress at all in this world, right? Well, we're going to need an actual understanding of our world. So our culture needs a jumpstart. An understanding of our world and our purpose is the only way forward. We have to actually understand who we are, what we're doing here, what the purpose of life is. Why did God make this place in the first place, and why did he put us in the middle of it? We can know those things. There are answers to those things. There are civilizations that actually left us the clues, left us the systems to understand, to help us find those answers. Most people out in the world don't even know that they exist, or they just give up the pursuit, as we've talked about before, which is most Christians, they give up the pursuit and say, well, I got my Jesus. You just close the door to the mysteries. Okay? We have to actually know God again. Know why he put us here, know why we're here, know that he's real, know how to find him, and know how to align with his will. Religion must be the foundation of any genuine culture. Hence why they've completely taken religion out of our culture and replaced it with everything else. Movies, music, Taylor fucking Swift, the Super Bowl, politics, the Democrats, the Republicans, all the icons you see on TV, the Juden Petersteins, right? Why are there so many churches in small towns? I count at least 50 within 10 miles according to Google, right? So it's like a small town of around 3,000 has 50 churches, whatever it is. How many churches in these small towns, right? I live in a town 2 miles by 2 miles. There are over 25 churches in the area. Some blocks have multiple churches. Well, it's like, okay, well, that is actually what the Christian belief system and those customs, that's actually what held together the culture for so long. Until it didn't. And why did it fall apart? Well, this guy that's on Quora here, whatever, basically tells you. And it's exactly what we bitch about and exactly what we are against in this sort of sense at the Gnostic Church. Most churches have fewer and fewer members and risk having to close every year. I can't help think but that all of the denominations divide us. This is a Christian church here, and this one over here, and this one over here, and this one over here, and here, and here, and here. And yet they don't all come together. And then all of a sudden it all falls apart. All this separation causes people to think they're better than other people just because of where they go to church. All of this infighting and denominationalism and stuff like that. And what happened? Well, you separated. You didn't have any answers. Then when the followers of your Christian church actually wanted answers, what does the Trinity mean? What does it mean? You didn't have answers. What did you expect was going to happen? You separated God's church. You followed a book and forced it onto children that had no idea what any of it means. And then when those children that are starting to grow up and be like, I'm starting to ask some questions, you didn't provide any answers. What did you think was going to happen? We provide the answers. What has ultimately been occulted from us is our actual culture. I.e., what is the greatest magic spell working against humanity, hiding the power and potentiality of humankind and our divine rights? That's what's been occulted. And notice, cult and occult and culture all have that same root word. Occult, secret, not divulged. As we're going to find today, I'll get into that in just a second. The occult, secret, not divulged. Hidden, concealed, secret. Not apprehended by the mind, but beyond the range of understanding. The association with the supernatural sciences, magic, alchemy, astrology. That's really what it means, the hidden. All of the churches have abandoned this. Even truth seekers, when you tell them, hey, I'm into the occult and Freemason, they start going, because all those little triggers, in their mind that they should be cleansing are still there. And that prevents them from actually sitting their ass in these digital pews and being like, well, actually what he's saying is it's legitimate. I mean, I could totally double check that. Any culture that's going to survive is going to be based on an understanding and a knowing of God. And with that knowing and understanding of God comes gnosis, which means you will be dealing with the sacred sciences, that they will come to be known again by the average person, because the person will know, actually, hey, wait, no, I'm a child of God. Oh, I was put here because I actually have a purpose. I'm actually here to undergo that great alchemical work. And so therefore I can't be fucking around. I can't be worrying about, well, maybe I should be a rock star or something. No, you're going to be driven right to find the total purpose of the meaning of life, which is, in my opinion, what we all search for. Now, some people will say, and I will chastise them for having shit faith, this is all going to hell. It's all going to hell. You might as well forget it. Haven't you seen the chemtrails, Marty? Haven't you seen the Satanists are involved? Haven't you seen the Jews are running everything? The finance market is like, I don't care. I also know that as a Gnostic, how it works down here. And that cycle of light and darkness and light and darkness. Now, we may be in a cycle of darkness right now, but I know that that's not going to last forever. And I also know that God wants us to participate in that cycle. Which means what? Well, you got a responsibility, which we'll get to at the end. You got a responsibility. And hence why, once again, why did I start this church? Because I have a responsibility. People think, it's all going to shit. It's all just going to fall apart. No, it's not. This is why you have renaissances and rebirths. You can look throughout history. Obviously, we're seeing now, and we can't trust the history, but we can see why they think they probably buried history, because they don't want us to know that actually people en masse at one point or several points or many points throughout history have woken up and been like, oh, wait, there is a great purpose. We do have this potentiality of our, we are divine. We do have this great potentiality of the human spirit is just unbelievable. And they want to crush it and destroy it and things like that. Well, when you go on that way, the way, the truth, and the life, and you become a Gnostic, this is when you start opening those doors. And when you're a candle lighter. That's what you are. You go out and light candles. And any renaissance or rebirth of society will be based on the understanding of the occult sciences. And this is what, when you look back and you look at all of these paintings and the architecture and the cathedrals, just like when Jennifer and I went into the churches in Germany, knowing what I know now, I walk in there and I'm like, oh shit. These people knew. And they were basing their entire society on their understanding and knowing of God and knowing the occult sciences. And they encoded it in everything. Everything. The symbols, the architecture, the paintings. Okay? They knew the heavens and the earth. Okay? So culture is reborn. A culture is actually created and cultivated when the holy sciences are cultivated. Okay? The highest culture will have revealed that which has been most occulted. And hence why we're going to work full-time on doing everything in our power to let people know that not only this stuff exists, but that you can prove it yourself, and that it's been with us the entire time. And then, when you're raising little Jimmy Bobby, and little Jimmy Bobby's asking about, what does this mean? Why is Jesus on the cross? Well, because he just had to suffer for all of us. Yeah, well, that's true, but what else does it mean? Is that it? Obviously not, as you guys know. Gnosis reveals that life has a divine purpose. There's purpose. There's things to know. There are answers. Gnosis uncovers the meaning of existence itself. It does. 42. Culture arises when society once again understanding Earth has a purpose. In other words, nothing will change in our society. It's not, what if we just elect RFK Jr., I really don't think that's going to be the way to actually do it. Am I making fun of RFK Jr. right now? Yeah, I am. Kind of a dick move, but I don't care. So, nothing will change. Nothing will change. A culture will actually not be a legitimate culture unless we put heaven back in the minds of men. And that's what needs to happen. That's what needs to happen to your children. That's what needs to happen to you. And nothing will change for the ultimate better until that happens. And I am going to show you that with my existence. with my life. Okay? Let's take a break. I'm going to play another song. You guys cool with that? Where is this? Oh, no. If you would like to donate to our fine church, Venmo, Buy Me a Coffee, Cash App, PayPal,